What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video, we're going to be reacting to Johnny Arnett talking about the real history of the NBA's best player championship belt. So I think what this video is going to be is who is the best player at every specific time in the NBA. Obviously now, I think it's Jokic, 5 years ago, Bron, 10 years ago, probably still Bron, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things that are going to be debated in this video. But I'm eager to hear what he has to say about this as well. Make sure to go subscribe to my man.
Hey guys, obviously I'm not Johnny. My name is Russell Broderick, or Derek White apparently for some of you, and I've been the editor here for the channel for the better part of a year now. Johnny, as we talked about on the NBA Finals preview pod, is moving this weekend, and that gave me the opportunity to do a video that I've been wanting to do.
Oh, this is dope. So Johnny's editor actually is making this video. This is kind of dope.
For quite some time now. So, Bill Simmons had this clip from his podcast on his YouTube channel called The History of the NBA's Best Player Belt.
Man, he's talking about is Luka about to take over Jokic. Stop it.
At the players throughout NBA history.
Stop it.
Since 1970
Stop
that
it.
held the NBA's Best Player Championship.
Just stop it. No.
I love this idea. And I've been thinking about this premise in this unique way.
Oh, wait, whoa. Let me rewind.
I love 70 that held the NBA's Best Player Championship. I love this idea. And I've been thinking about this premise in this unique way for a long time as a
I kind of like this idea
really
too.
big pro wrestling fan. But I personally would go about who I picked a little bit differently than Bill. So here's my plan. I'm going to go all the way back to 1960 to determine who was
Big Will.
the league's best player in each era and who are the rightful holders of the NBA's Best Player Championship.
Okay.
Here's my criteria. So, first and foremost, personal accolades like MVPs, championships, finals MVPs, and all NBA selections.
Okay.
Because basketball, more than any other team sport, can be impacted and influenced by one single player. So hardware like rings and MVPs are great indicators of who
Rings
has the
are
belt
overrated
in their era. Second, playoffs. Playoff wins, rounds won, meaning how far these belt holders went each postseason, and their personal playoff stats.
Okay.
Because obviously the regular season matters way less today than in previous eras.
True.
But the playoffs have always shown
Playoffs
who the best
always
teams
matter more.
and players are in the league. So I'll be factoring that in greatly to determine our belt holders. Third, league shifting ability. Meaning, did this player change the way basketball is played? If so, that receives a bonus. I can't really explain that more without giving some stuff away, but I'll be sure to explain more when the time comes and we have a player where that is a very big
James Harden.
impact, and we will have a few in that category. And lastly, team quality. Were you on the most talented team, or did you carry teams with less?
That's why I'm saying Bill Russell should not be, because the Boston Celtics were so
talent?
good. Just like
Players
they're
with
now.
less talent on their teams get a bonus if they win despite that lack of talent, but it doesn't always factor in to the highest extent more than some of the things above it. That's why it is last on the
Okay, that's all valid.
I'm hoping these
I
four
need a new
pillars will
coffee.
help you get where I'm coming from as we go along from one champ to the
Oh,
next.
shoot, man.
But there can only be one first belt holder. So let's get into the video and
Is it
travel
Bob
back in
Pettit?
time. 1960
Come on, man.
to 1966. Bill Russell. We start with one of my all-time favorite players.
After
the
this, is it
legendary
Wilt?
Bill Russell, who was the first belt holder ever from 1960 to 1966. Russell's career was defined by winning championships, getting all 6 titles possible during this span for the Celtics. His ability to lead Boston to winning was unmatched, earning him 4
Bro,
MVP
Boston was so good back then.
awards
though.
during his reign, including 1961-62, despite Wilt's 50 points per game and Oscar's triple-double during that same season. Russell's greatest competitor during this period, and the number one contender for the belt, was absolutely Wilt Chamberlain.
And my thing is like, how are you gonna put Bill Russell over Wilt Chamberlain? How? Because he has the better team?
whose individual dominance in scoring and rebounding was 2K level fake at the time. However, what puts Russell over the edge was his defensive dominance and his amazing rebounding to trigger fast breaks that completely revolutionized the game. It was Bill's knack for winning and his defensive genius that made him our very first NBA Best Player champion.
I give it to Wilt, but that's just me. Okay, Wilt's taking it over. Okay, as long as Wilt has a stage here, whatever.
Wilt Chamberlain. In the 66-67 season, Wilt Chamberlain took the Best Player championship by force, leading his Philadelphia 76ers over Bill Russell to win the East, then over Rick Barry, who dropped almost 41 points per game.
41 a game is crazy.
And brolic Nate Thurmond to win his first NBA title. Wilt's dominance was characterized by his 2 MVPs and this historic 1967 championship run, where he finally learned to trust his teammates and became truly unstoppable. Even though Bill Russell slid to the #1 contender, he still won 2 chips in this era to Wilt's 1.
But it doesn't matter. Wilt was better. I think Wilt was better throughout his entire career. It's just like Bill had the better team. It really is that simple.
But Wilt has 2 MVPs to Russell's 0 during this span. And for me, that made the difference when thinking about who was the absolute best in the world at the time. The Big Dipper's scoring went down to just over 23 points per game, but he became the league's first and only center to lead the NBA in assists for a whole season.
Dude averaged 20, 20, and 9. He was Jokic before Jokic.
And carried his 76ers and then Lakers to a 213 and 77 record during this 3-year run with the belt. 1970 to 1975.
Big Reem. Y'all notice it? It's all big men so far.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The dawn of a new decade saw the rise of a new superstar, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's taking the belt in 1970. Kareem's skyhook was one of the most unstoppable moves in basketball, and honestly still is to this day. But at this point in his career, he had everything. Winning 3 MVPs and leading the Milwaukee Bucks to a championship in 1971, Kareem's impact on both ends of the floor was extraordinary. Honestly though, it was a tough decision between Kareem and the Doctor, Julius Erving, who is our #1 contender during this era. Dr. J dominated the ABA during the early 70s.
I feel like it's hard to compare these two. It's
winning
hard.
2 MVPs, an ABA title, and the ABA
Dr. J
playoffs
was
MVP
doing
in
it,
1974.
He was doing it.
However, Kareem was just as dominant, scored more points, and played in the more competitive league. It's okay though. Dr. J will get his opportunity to hold that gold. Speaking of which,
my shoulders hurt, man.
1976 to 1979.
I need to have better posture.
Julius Erving. See what I mean?
Dr. J,
like this is the perfect
4 or
time
5
to give
years?
Dr. Bell. Even though he doesn't enter the NBA until the following season, Erving put Giannis-esque stats up to win the MVP, playoff MVP,
35 and 13
ABA championship in 1976. While Kareem won the MVP in the NBA despite not making the playoffs, which is the only time
I think this shouldn't even be allowed to happen.
that's ever happened in history, and I feel pretty comfortable saying that that's not happening ever again.
It shouldn't.
Dr. J's ABA success transitioned seamlessly to the NBA.
Oh my gosh,
where
on
he
Bill
continued
Walton?
to have playoff success, playing in 38 playoff games for Philly in his first 3 seasons with the team, and making the NBA Finals immediately in 1977.
Look at the crowd. The crowd's going crazy.
And Moses Malone, with his amazing numbers for Houston, were exceptional during this period, and were both in contention for the belt.
I mean, Kareem's numbers are still insane. 31 and 15. Still crazy.
But Dr. J making back-to-back finals for 2 different teams in 2 totally different leagues made it clear to me that he deserved the title of the best.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I still might give it to Reem. I still might,
in the
personally.
world. 1980 to 1983. Moses Malone.
3 years.
Moses Malone deserves this award for similar reasons to the man he's taking the belt from, and he even came to Philly to take it from him. Big Mo is the greatest offensive rebounder of all time. Not a glamour stat by any means, but when you can add 27 points per game to those nearly 15 rebounds per game, You get back-to-back MVP awards for
Everybody jokes about Moses and his offensive rebounds, but obviously he was tough.
2 different teams, and a championship season where your team goes 12-1 in the playoffs. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar continues to be in the mix for the belt he held 10 years ago at this point. But
Kareem's longevity was special, for sure.
Magic Johnson, while being amazing for the longevity of the captain's career, made it so difficult for me to say Kareem should be considered the best player in the world at this point. 1984 to 1986, Larry Bird.
Oh, this is another 3-year
Larry
period.
Legend's time with the belt was marked by his exceptional shooting, passing, and basketball IQ.
The Celtics were so good, though.
Which were all at their apex at this time. Bird led the Boston Celtics to a combined regular season and playoff record of
until I recently started watching highlights, I ain't know Larry was this athletic.
35 and 73, which got Larry 2 NBA championships and MVP awards for all 3 seasons of his reign on top. Magic Johnson was Bird's greatest rival and easily the #1 contender during this mid-80s period. But Bird was unquestionably the best player in the world. Until 1987 to 1990.
It's crazy like how many 3 or 4 year periods there are.
Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson took the belt directly from Larry Bird after the finals in 1987, when Bird told the media essentially that after Magic won the ring and took home finals MVP. Magic's versatility, court vision, and leadership were unmatched after he took
That hook shot right there is impossible to guard.
Proverbial keys from Kareem and drove the Showtime Lakers to the finals in 3 out of the 4 years he was on top and held the belt. Michael Jordan was beginning to rise and was the obvious #1 contender in the late 80s. But Magic was completely dominating in every aspect
MJ ain't really win until a while later.
The game at this point, and was undeniably the best player
MJ
in the world.
36 in the playoffs.
1991 to 1993.
This is a short
Jordan.
period.
It's amazing how the belt continued to be up for grabs during the NBA Finals for these last few champions. And MJ finally getting his hands on the gold was no exception.
2 years.
Many believe that Magic was a washed-up version of himself by 1991, largely because he'd be retired by the very next season due to the HIV virus.
Just sad.
However,
it really is sad.
Magic was second in MVP voting in 91 and got his team to yet another NBA Finals.
He averaged 19 and 13. That's impressive, man. But look at MJ's defense. 3 steals and 1 block.
It's a very legitimate passing of the torch, or in our case, the belt. MJ was king of the world from 91 to 93, and in my opinion was the absolute best version of himself, combining elite athleticism with next-level two-way basketball IQ. Jordan's scoring ability, defensive prowess, and competitive drive led the Bulls to their first three-peat. Charles Barkley and David Robinson were exceptional also in this time. But Jordan's unmatched success in this era,
I'm not gonna lie, MJ looks unguardable in this era.
Made him clearly the best player in the world, by a comfortable margin. 1994 and 1995. Akeem Olajuwon.
The dream, man.
With Jordan temporarily retired,
see, that's the thing. I would like to know how the NBA would play out if Jordan never would have retired.
The belt was essentially vacated for the first time ever, and there were a ton of contenders chomping at the bits to take the crown. One man was able to snatch the belt from the crowd of contenders, and his name is Akeem the Dream Olajuwon.
It's crazy how different eras had so many different great players, though.
Akeem's sick footwork, Hall of Fame defense, and leadership won this legend the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Championship, and Finals MVP in 1993. Then the Dream led the Houston Rockets to back-to-back championships, earning another Finals MVP and becoming the only NBA All-Star to ever win back-to-back titles without playing with another.
That's just nuts. That's like Jokic type stuff. Literally, you don't have another All-Star teammate unless you want to include Jamal Murray. That's crazy.
All-star. David Robinson and Shaquille O'Neal were 2 strong contenders for the belt, but Olajuwon's hardware during these 2 seasons gave him the significant edge. 1996 to 1998.
See, like, literally, if MJ never would have retired, he might have done it, like, 6-7 years straight.
Michael Jordan. MJ returned with a vengeance from 96 to 98, becoming the first player to get the Best Player Championship belt twice. MJ won all 3 rings available and the Finals MVPs to go with them. And he probably should have won all 3 regular season MVPs as well, if not for the abomination that was the 1997 MVP race.
That's crazy that Karl Malone won it. And Karl Malone was so good. Obviously, I don't want to talk about off-the-court issues because he was a horrible person. But on the court, like, it's tough.
Karl Malone and Shaq were definitely solid during this period. But Jordan's return left no doubt who the best player and rightful owner of the Best Player Championship belt was for the 1990s.
MJ was special, man.
1999 to 2002. Shaquille O'Neal.
3-year period, Big Shaq.
Shaq was the league's most dominant force.
He was so big you couldn't guard him.
Ever from 99 to 2002. Thanks to his combination of size, strength, and agility that he finally combined with a killer mentality. Shaq's Lakers are still the last team to ever three-peat in the NBA. And Shaq got all the Finals MVPs for those appearances. Tim Duncan and Allen Iverson were also in the mix for the belt during this time. But Shaq's dominance in the playoffs made him for sure this era's absolute best. 2003 to 2007.
See, this is crazy. A 4-year stretch in which Tim Duncan was the best. And again, you're seeing a lot of 3 and 4-year stretches. I wonder what bronze is going to be.
Tim Duncan's consistent excellence earned him the title of the league's best player for nearly half of the 2000s.
That's just crazy.
During these 5 seasons, Duncan won 71.6% of the 500 games he played between the regular season and playoffs, leading the Spurs to 3 championships and 2 Finals MVPs. Duncan's fundamentals, defense, and leadership were crucial to holding the belt over Steve Nash's offensive wizardry and Kobe's scoring dominance during this stretch. 2008 to 2010.
Prime
Kobe Bryant. The Black Mamba finally snatches the title here that I'm sure he's felt like he's held since his first NBA championship. Kobe carried the Lakers to all 3 NBA finals during this 3-year stretch.
And the thing about Kobe is, man, he was able to make such tough shots.
2 championships and finals MVPs.
How do you guard that?
Kobe's scoring ability and Mamba mentality were unmatched. His work ethic and determination really did inspire a generation. Like
it absolutely
Johnny,
did.
And my friend and co-host Dario, who you've probably seen on the podcast here that we do on the channel. And that was at its all-time absolute peak here in the late 2000s. A young and up-and-coming LeBron James was a legitimate #1 contender, and some might say the rightful holder of the belt during this late 2000s.
Who do I think was better? Probably Bron, but it's like, he didn't, it was his team's fault mainly. But if you don't win a championship, it's tough.
Period. But Kobe's championship success and clutch performances made him the champion.
I do think LeBron was the better player, though. Young Bron was so
2011 to 2014, LeBron James.
He's going to give it to Steph after this for a year. MVP Steph was different, though. I will say.
To South Beach and took the belt from Kobe and all other contenders in 2011, beginning his unprecedented run of 8 straight NBA Finals appearances. King James took his already amazing talents to a completely different level in Miami, delivering some of the best performances we've ever seen and making it obvious who deserved the belt
LeBron
at this time.
was so good for his time.
LeBron's versatility, basketball IQ...
I say for his time, and he's still good at what, 40 almost?
And physical prowess were unparalleled, getting him 2 MVPs, 2 rings, and 2 Finals MVPs for the Heat. A young, slim Reaper Kevin Durant for Oklahoma City was a formidable challenger and an obvious #1 contender in this era. But LeBron's overall impact and success made him the best player in the world by a fairly wide margin. 2015 to 2018.
No way he gave it to 2018. Even when they blew a 3-1 lead, you think Steph was better than LeBron?
Steph Curry. Chef Curry revolutionized the game from 2015 to 2018. His incredible shooting range changed.
Maybe 1 year he was the best player. 3 years, 4 years, this is crazy. This is blasphemy.
Because before this time, Some entire teams were
Where's Prime Harden at?
shooting the volume of threes that Curry was shooting on his own. And he was draining them. Like when he made 402 in 2016. Speaking of
I'm telling you, Harden, man.
The Chef became the first unanimous
No
MVP
way for
in NBA
3 years
history,
in a row.
leading a Warriors
No
team that
way.
won 73 games in the regular season.
And didn't they blow a 3-1 lead? Like, no way during Bron's championship year, this year when he was playing with not nearly the talent Steph was, you're going to give it to Steph.
LeBron James should have held on to the belt for an extended reign once he went back to Cleveland. But it didn't feel right considering Curry's impact on the game
What are we talking about
and his
here?
success in the regular season and playoffs if he never got his hands on
Okay, that's fine, but Bron literally won a championship in one of those years. That year has got to go to Bron.
So I'm giving it to him here. 2019 to 2021. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Agree with this one.
Giannis's dominance from 2019 to 2021 was marked by his incredible versatility and athleticism. Giannis had some insane statistical seasons, including scoring 30 points per game in only 30 minutes per game, which is absolutely crazy and earned him one of his 2 MVPs during this stretch. The Greek Freak was able to win the Milwaukee Bucks their first NBA championship.
I think it's crazy how good prime Giannis really was.
Since former belt holder Kareem did it exactly 50 years earlier in 2021. LeBron once again remained a strong #1 contender, showing his ridiculous longevity. But Giannis's two-way dominance and unique skill set made him the best player in the world.
You can't argue that, in my opinion.
2022 to 2024.
To where we're at now.
Nikola Jokic.
The Joker.
Despite the endless amount of competition in the NBA right now, Nikola Jokic has emerged as the best player in the world.
And he still is. I mean, he
our current holder of the belt. Jokic's incredible passing, scoring, and basketball IQ have led the Denver Nuggets to new heights, including the 2023 NBA title, where Jokic won the Finals MVP and completely annihilated every other team in his way the entire playoffs. Jokic has transformed the center position into something that we have never seen before. So Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Luka, despite all being great players, must take a backseat to the Joker until further notice.
Agreed.
Well, there you have it. That's the NBA's Best Player Championship belt, as decided by Derek White. Each player brought something unique to the game, shaping basketball into what it is today. But what do you guys think?
I think, I'm not going to listen to the rest of it. I think you gave Steph Curry too much credit. Making the blow a 3-1 lead. How do you not give it to Bron? You guys can let me know down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.